Hello, Mary.
Hi, Steve.
We are live. We are live.
Live and direct.
I feel like it's a long time coming, this podcast, because I'm used to shooting your podcasts.
Yeah.
And since I've obviously opened the content room, a lot has happened, obviously, which we might touch on, might not. But as I always start this, I've called it the Made for Video podcast. But now we've got the content room, I kind of think I'm going to change it to the Made for Socials podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Or Made to Be Social podcast.
Made to be social. I like that.
Made to Be Social podcast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of them three names, but I think I'm leaning towards that, Made to Be
Yeah.
Social.
I like that because it's a bit more of a play on words than just a pure
Yes.
thing. So,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's not just something we're making to put it on social.
Yeah.
It's actually
To be social.
because humans generally are quite social thing.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Or even if they're not, even if you're introverted, you're not social by nature. Still like to socialise. People do like to just communicate with each other, and I love to communicate with each other. Like I've really revisited my old trainings, things that I teach, personal values, business values, brand values, all that.
Yeah.
I really revisited them this year when I started this, and one thing I really come to value is simplicity for one.
Yeah.
Like to keep everything super simple, nothing's complicated in the business. I also like connection and connecting with people, and I also like ownership.
Yeah.
Don't like this like blame culture.
Yeah.
You know, everything. Don't look at me. Nothing's my fault.
Yeah.
And even if, and it's stupid to say that everything is always your fault, because not everything is always your fault. And I don't think that's what ownership is. Ownership is just owning the situation for what it is.
Yeah. Well, sometimes even it's not your fault, but you can take ownership of it and sort it out.
Yeah. And rather than blaming someone and being pissed off with someone, just be proactive and just sort it out, and you probably get to the bottom of it quicker anyway.
Yeah, and then shout about it after.
Yeah. Be fuming about it afterwards.
Yeah.
But for anyone in my audience who may not be aware of what you do and who you are and what you do?
So I'm Mary Cross. I have my wellness channel, Building Bliss, and obviously I came to meet you through when I launched my podcast, the Building Bliss podcast, where I interview a guest each week who has been through either a big life change or overcome great adversity.
Yeah.
And we look at that through the 5 pillars of bliss, which are bravery, laughter, inspiration, spark, and success. I tried to do the podcast myself. I think I recorded my first 2 episodes last March, so March 2023.
Nice.
Tried to edit them myself and gave up. And then obviously through our chance meeting, found out what you were doing. And that's when we embarked upon actually launching it as a full video podcast.
Nice, I love it. Rewind a little bit. I'm really interested in this, and I ask a lot of people this because I came from something totally different to doing this. You came from something totally different. So how do you go from being a construction lawyer to a stand-up comic to a podcaster?
Well, that's quite a journey, isn't it? I think, obviously, I was doing the legal stuff, but it was never really...
Would you class yourself as a construction lawyer?
Yeah, that was, I'm a construction lawyer and an expert witness on big building projects. And it's great. I've had my own business for 6 years now.
Nice.
But it doesn't light me up, and it didn't light me up. And I was getting increasingly frustrated with the deadlines, and I had a lot of personal stress in my life. And so then I embarked on a bit of a wellness journey. It all started actually with a panic attack in the co-op over choosing a tin of beans. So, I mean, if I'd been posh, it would have been in Waitrose, but it was
so if
in
it
the
wasn't
co-op.
for that panic attack, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Possibly not, no, because that honestly was a pivotal moment of me going, right, something's not right in my life and in my head. What am I going to do about it? And like all the crosses in my family, we don't go to the doctor because we're just not that kind of people. So I was like, well, what alternative things can I do? So I found a local meditation class, which was actually from the Buddhist Centre in Oxton. And that really set me on a path to where I am now. So started going there weekly, started a daily meditation practice. From that, gave up drinking because I liked how my mind was once I'd got to that sort of flow state. And then because I'm me and I get very obsessed with things, I then read every book on it, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, any book, you know, I devoured.
Yeah.
And I thought there's a path somewhere for me to share what I've learned and help other people with it.
Yeah.
Because I think fundamentally at my core, that's what I want to do, is help people. My mum always used to say that I should have been a doctor, and I resolutely disagree with that. But I've spoke to some spiritual people who said, I see you as a healer. And I was like, well, that's slightly different. A doctor is a healer, but I think I am a healer in the sense of being able to heal other people through sharing my experiences.
So where does comedy come into that?
So the comedy came in. I think this is another sort of long train of events, but I gave up drinking.
Was that always on the radar though? Was that
no? Well, it was as a child. That was always my childhood ambition. I loved Victoria Wood. I used to watch I've seen on TV. Yeah. I'd get the book, I'd learn the scripts, and then I was in 2 youth theatres, Burnley Youth Theatre and Rosendale Youth Theatre as a teenager. Acted at school. It was what I wanted to do, but obviously being brought up in a working class family in Lancashire, no one said, oh, why don't you go to drama school? So they were like, you're clever, get a profession. And someone said, well, being a barrister is the nearest you'll get to being an actor, because you'll be up on your feet, you'll be doing public speaking, so you'll still get to do all the things you love, but nothing could have been.
I think there's some crossover between what we do, because I get a lot of clients who come in and 90% of what we do is video.
Yeah.
Podcasts, social content, website content, instructionals, interviews, lots of different things. And a lot of people are just like, I don't want to get on camera.
Yeah, they hate it.
They hate it.
Any form of public speaking.
Any form.
People hate it. It's the second biggest fear after death.
It's mad,
is public speaking.
Yeah. There's that thing called the feararchy, and there's 5 major fears. I can't think for the life of me what the first couple are.
I think it's death, public speaking,
and I think
divorce.
I think one was like mutilation, like scared of getting physically injured. Death. But one of them is, there's 2 that I always focus on, and it's fear of being judged and fear of not living up to your own expectations. I'll Google that later.
Yeah, and that really wraps into public speaking, doesn't it?
Exactly. Well, it's both of them, isn't it? It's like, one is fear of being judged, because we like to be in a crowd, and the one that stands out of the crowd is kind of left vulnerable. Yeah. It's like the old herd mentality, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
If you see a pack of lions walking around, they're all in a pack, and it's for safety that they're in the pack. The little cub that gets away is in more danger. Yeah. But actually, if he grows up and survives, he gets all the food, and he's the strongest one. Yeah. And it's the same, right? Like, you come out of that herd a little bit, and then everyone grows up in it. It's a family. You grow up in your own little herd, and when you break off from that herd, even like your closest people to it, I found, was like the lads in the WhatsApp group that I went to school with, my sister, my other sister, my mum and dad. They're like, what on earth are you doing? You're a PT. You've been doing fitness all your life, and then all of a sudden you're doing this like video stuff and one video, and they're seeing me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube talking about social media. I'm like, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah, but it's true, because even when I was growing up, I was in the local paper quite a lot, either doing speaking competitions or with youth theatre or whatever. And people come up to me like in the local nightclub and go, "Ooh, you're that one that's always in the paper."
I think me and you could probably vouch for this, and I think you'll agree with this, that actually getting in front of people and spreading a good message and being positive and doing general good and trying to help people, it's definitely one of the most productive things I've done for myself. Just getting in front, literally just getting my phone out with a coffee in the morning and just practice speaking into my phone. Yeah, was one of the most. Honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done. Yeah,
it is. I mean, I look back, I've actually archived a lot of my old videos on my Building Bliss Instagram, because I look back and I cringe so hard because I wasn't being authentic. I was doing wellness, doing a wellness practitioner or mimicking other people I'd seen. And it wasn't me. And now I know I can look at my recent, like probably in the past year or two, probably since I've done comedy actually, and go, no, that's me. And I don't put on a fake voice or anything. It's just me. And I think that's the hardest thing, I think, for people coming to this newly, who perhaps don't get in the public eye very much, is being authentic. Because as you say, it's like, oh God, they're going to judge me, you know.
Totally. I think it's one of them things as well, where that initial thing of like, oh shit, like I'm gonna get laughed at. Like some of my first videos, fucking hell, they were so bad. They were so bad. I can tell you a story. I've told these stories so many times. And I went through a phase of like archiving stuff, and I've probably still got an archive of videos that have just either been published and took off or unpublished videos. But I don't even bother anymore.
No.
Do you know? Because I just leave it there. Because like if you scroll back through my Instagram page to the first videos, at the time I thought they were good.
Yeah.
And they're just in my house, me talking to the camera. Doesn't even sound like me. It's literally just, I'm like, what on earth was I thinking with that style of font and the colour of the camera and how I was speaking. It doesn't even sound like my voice.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre to look back on. And you realise actually that speaking is a skill in itself, and communication is a skill.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what sort of really gravitated me towards yourself, because one, I could see sort of parallels to what I did in terms of transitioning into something different. But yeah, just overcoming them sort of maybe I'm going to say limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and I think that's why comedy is so powerful, because once you've stood on a stage and made people laugh, there's really nothing that you can't do. It makes you feel invincible.
On that note, is there an alternative to that as well? It's like when you stand on a stage and you bomb out and no one laughs.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it like, okay, nothing's going to get worse than this?
Well, that's the thing. You've faced your worst fear, and that does happen. And then, you know, there's the Millikan principle, which is Sarah Millikan's thing, is you're allowed to sulk or bask in a good or bad gig until 11 o'clock the next day in the morning, and that's it. You put it to bed, it's done. And, you know, I've done double gigs, so you do two in one day. I've done the same set in two different places. One's gone awfully and one's bombed. One's gone brilliant.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's the same material. So then it's the crowd, because I think that's the other thing. Comedy is a two-way thing, and it is a very energetic thing. And I know if my energy's not good, I know I'm transmitting that, and people pick up on it. So it is, I
love the style of it though. Like, I love the style of what you guys do. Like, kind of leads us on to my next question. Actually, one thing that really got me when we started working together was the pillars of bliss. It's not directly linked to comedy as such. In fact,
partly is.
Partly
really.
is, yeah. Did them pillars come about from comedy, or was that like an epiphany? Because I could imagine it to be like some of my best ideas. You know, when you're like, we laid it down moments, and then you're like kind of like looking in the mirror, and you're brushing your teeth, and you look up, and you think, oh, I've got to do something now.
Yeah.
Like,
it was honestly, it was actually like a download. I found the original where I'd written it down the other day, because I've just been back for it. Was actually,
and then where like you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like oh
yeah,
this is divine inspiration stepping in.
Yeah, because originally they stood for something else. It was something like breathe, life, like really waffly shit that I thought was what I was trying to get across, and then it just came in a download. And as I say, I found it the other day, and and they all came together. But I think obviously you've got to be brave to stand on stage, and then obviously the laughter part. To me, laughter's probably been the biggest healer.
Okay, so let's dissect that from the start then. So the first pillars of bliss, I'll let you go through the whole name of myself.
Yeah.
But there's 5 pillars.
Yeah.
They're all based on a stage that someone might be at, maybe in their life, or the journey that someone's gone through. So let's start with the first one. So firstly, go through what the pillars are, but then obviously go through each one individually.
Yeah, so it's bravery, laughter, inspiration, spark and success. So the B for bravery really comes about because I think anything, either doing something that's different or overcoming something that's hard, requires bravery. And I've actually been researching the difference between bravery and courage, because what came up a lot on the podcast was people didn't think they were being brave in the moment, but looking back, they realised it was brave. It was like, well, I had to do it. And I think that's the difference. That bravery is something you have to do it. And I think whether it's changing your job, leaving, an abusive relationship, which is what we've had on the podcast, or if it's something like, having to completely change your life in some way, or, overcome grief, for example, or a death or whatever, it all requires bravery. So that's the sort of starting block of the pillars. And I think you've found, obviously, they've all been amazing stories, and some of them are quite deep. But then immediately then we go into the L for laughter, and how important that is to people in their lives. Because without laughter, you just want to end it, really, wouldn't you? And even in the darkest moments, you can find laughter. And that's something, I think that's why I found comedy so healing, because I talk a lot about I won't say trauma because it's a bit, but you know, my darkest moments or things that have been challenging in my life, I make fun of them, and then people come up to me after and go, "Oh my God, that's happened to me," or "God, I found that so healing for you to laugh about it." So that's why laughter's so crucial to me.
I mean, laughter to me is like we have this like. I think me and you might have spoken about this before, but laughter to me is like you go through your childhood and all you want to do is play and have a laugh. And if you're not, you're crying.
Yeah.
Literally, I've got kids, and if they're not playing or laughing, they're crying. They're not really ever just being a neutral, apart from when they're asleep.
Yeah.
Literally 24/7. Then you get to school age, and you get a bit more structure, but generally you make friends, you form relationships, and you make your way through school.
Yeah.
But you still want to have fun.
Yeah.
Then you get to like college age, and that's definitely party years. Between, you know, you get into, you know, going clubbing and partying all the time. Might be fresh air, like, you know. And university is basically just party town, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you get into the big wide world. You might the first like sort of 20 years of your life have just all been about having fun.
Yeah.
And you get into the big wide world, and all of a sudden you've got to find a job.
Yeah.
And you've got to pay the bills, and you've got to move out to your mum and dad's house, and you've got to have a kid, like, or you've got to take responsibility for like your own shit, essentially. And you kind of like lose that sort of fun aspect. And I see people my age now, and they're kind of like downtrodden. Life's got them, and they're not that. They just look a bit miserable.
Yeah. Well, I think you get in a rut, don't you?
Yeah, and I always think like one of the big things for me is I always try and keep an element of play in everything I do, like, because life can beat you down, and it will beat you down.
Yeah.
But actually, like we've spoken about this prior to this podcast, like in the micro, we're here for a long time. I'm gonna make the most of it, enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
But then in the macro, we're dead a long time, and we're a speck of dust.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So
you've got to find that joy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my mum died 2 months ago, and a month after that, I put on a gig for Bliss Comedy, my comedy night for the Brain charity, and people were like, "Are you sure you're going to be all right to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And honestly, it was the most uplifting thing I could have done. It was for the Neurodiversity Arts Festival. So 6 neurodiverse comedians. We had a BSL interpreter. We had someone singing, and it gave me so much joy. And, you know, that was a great release for me. And other people might have thought that was insane to do something like that 4 weeks after such a big thing happening. But that gave me some joy back that I needed.
Lovely. So it's so good to hear you speak like that. Then the third pillar is inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah.
So where does that fall into the sort of your line of thinking?
Well, I think I take a lot of inspiration from other people and, well, mainly books, I guess, but people as well. And I think you do need something to inspire you.
You are a big book reader. I noticed when I came into the office that there's like tons of books on the shelf.
Yeah, I've always been like, even as a child, I finished our library, our local library. Used to go like olden days when you could just walk around when you were
so
younger.
Much from books though.
Yeah.
I like the idea of writing a book. I think me and you spoke about this. But the idea of writing a book in the sense that books and films, I suppose, outlast ourselves.
Yeah, well, it's a legacy, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why I think podcasts will take over from television eventually. Like everyone having a YouTube channel will take over from television, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe not immediately, but over time it will. For the fact that us creating this podcast, in theory, this podcast will be around for a lot longer than we will be.
Yeah.
So people might stumble across this, and the pillars that you speak on, these bliss pillars, will stand out way longer than they will outlive us.
Yeah.
Way outlive us. So if we live to 100 years old, in theory on YouTube, in 200 years, someone could stumble across this and be like, I'm still going through that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's only like, you know, Buddhist texts go back 2,000, 5,000 years that are passed down through a lineage, but the wisdom still stands today because we're all still suffering. We've all still got the same problems. It's just applying it in a different way. And I think that was my thing, is how can I distill all this knowledge I've gained, but put it back out in a way that is palatable, because a lot of people aren't interested or don't think they're interested, and it's being able to make it more accessible. You know, I always use my example of people wafting around in white on Instagram going, I'm in wellness influencer, which
Totally.
makes me just vom,
Yeah.
like turns me off completely. But my thing was to say, well, look, I'm a real person. I'm a mum. I'm living in the north of England. It's raining. I've got kids. The dog's just shit on the floor. How can I be mindful?
Yeah.
And it's that real side of
yeah.
things. And I think, I obviously always talk about Mel Robbins. I think her biggest asset is her authenticity and her ability to relate to people
Yeah.
going through the same thing.
Fucking love it. I mean, inspiration for me, a lot of mine comes from like podcasts and books, but actually just day-to-day stuff, actually things that you wouldn't necessarily, they're not going to change your life in a single moment, when you're not going to, but actually just simple day-to-day stuff. The fact of just like, opening a door for someone, or just like, people think this like happiness thing is like something that you just are, you are happy, but actually it's not. It's something that you just kind of hone every day just by, because I was just like, what's your definition of happiness? Like, big question, right? To me, all the happiness we need, and this is getting quite deep, but all the happiness we need is already inside us.
Yeah.
And that's the same for everyone. The happiness you need is already inside you. And then people might say like, oh, well, why am I not happy then? Why do I not feel happy? Well, like, that's all that is, and it's over the other side. So people might say like, oh, I just want to be happy. Well, like, why can't I feel happy if it's already inside me? Why aren't I happy? Because you need to give it away. And it's like a backward thing. It's like almost like a counterintuitive thing to say that.
Yeah.
Give it away.
Yeah.
Make someone else happy, and that'll fill your cup up more. And and then the overflow that you get from making someone happy, and that could be something as simple as making someone a cup of tea, or opening the door for someone, or sending someone a message when you need it. Like something just so small. Like, I was editing a video last week and I seen a clip of someone just complimenting someone, so I cut that little bit out of the video and I just sent it to them. Yeah. To the other person. They didn't even know that I was made that video.
No.
And the fact that someone, Alison Blackler, was just said something complimentary about someone, they didn't know that Alison had said that.
No.
And I just cut that little bit out and sent it to the person.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow, that's amazing, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And just that little 20-second clip, I didn't need to do that. The fact that I just cut it out, it took me 3 minutes to do.
Yeah, but made a world of difference.
But made a massive amount of difference. And that'll ultimately come around.
Yeah.
Because now that person's messaging me and I'm on their radar.
Yeah.
So if you want to, like, look at it from a business sense and create opportunity for yourself and build best relationships with people, it's breaking that cycle of like, okay, the happiness is inside me, how can I tap into it? Actually, I don't tap into it, I give it away.
Yeah, well, there's one of my favourite lines in an Ian Brown song is keep what you've got by giving it all away.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I never really realised the origin of it, but I heard someone discussing it. It's actually from the 12-step programme from AA. And what it's saying is, if you've achieved sobriety and been through the shit, it's your duty to help somebody else who's in that same position. But it doesn't have to relate to addiction or anything. Just that line, keep what you've got by giving it all away. Because, as you say, whatever you do comes back to you tenfold, but it's not doing it in a transactional way. You're not doing it to get something out of it. You're doing it for yourself. Yeah. They say there's no selfless good deed. Yeah. And that's kind of true, because you'll always feel good when you've done something nice for someone.
Yeah.
And I even like, where me and Navy went to a coffee shop in Bromborough a few weeks ago, and about 10 different people stopped and chatted randomly because we were sat outside. And Navy was like, that's lovely, that, isn't it? How we didn't know those people and they stopped for a chat. And I said, well, yeah, because I said, if you're open to that, you never know what message that person's going to give you, but also that you might be the only person they speak to that day, and you've made their day now.
100%.
You've chatted.
100%.
And I think if we could get more of that out in the world,
100%.
it'd be a better place.
Yeah, and like, I always think them little moments that seemingly won't make a difference, they can so easily pass you by. Like that video, I could have just kept editing. Yeah. And just been like, I'm just going to finish the video, I'm on a deadline, I want to go home, I want to have my tea. Yeah. But that extra 3 minutes could change the course of not only their day, but their life. Yeah. And if it's big enough. Yeah. And also, and for me as well, like you say, like it's not totally selfless. It's like, I'm going to do something nice for someone, but I know by doing that it's going to make me feel good and it's going to come back to me positively in some way. Yeah. Powerful. Yeah. Powerful. Now, Spark
Spark, yeah.
Kind of a crossover to inspiration.
Yeah, I think doing the podcast, I realised there was a fair bit of spark. So I've started asking people to define spark. And I think for me, spark is more, inspiration is more global, big, like what is going to make you change your life in some way or lead you on to something. Whereas to me, spark is why do you get up in the morning? What gets you out of bed? And if you've lost your spark, what can you do to get it back?
I love it.
And I think that's why it's different to inspiration.
It's definitely different, but there's definitely crossover as well. So how would you define spark?
Spark to me is that it is that little ember that you've got, and it's the sort of little voice you can't ignore that says, you know, you want to do this. You know, you want to do this. You're fighting it. You've got your inner saboteur going. You've got your procrastination at full stretch, but deep down, you know you want to do it. So let's do it.
There's that purpose thing, I think. Like spark to me, when someone says that, like when I think about that, and when I've thought about that, when I've filmed your podcast before, it's almost like your purpose, and like that word gets thrown around quite cliche these days. Like, what's your purpose? This is all going to get cut out, by the way. But how loud is that? That's across the gym. So we look at purpose, and it's like it is quite a cliche thing. Like, but to me, it's usually grounded in some form of work. Usually, because you could say like, oh, my kids are my purpose. That's my purpose for living. And I thought that, like, I used to say, like, with the business, I do it all for the kids. And I'm kind of questioning myself on that a little bit lately, in the sense that my kids don't care if I work or not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they just want my time.
Yeah.
They don't care about how much money I make. They don't care if I make double the money I made last month, or how many leads I got in this week, or how many people I've had on the podcast this week.
Yeah.
So it's kind of made me question it a little bit. It's like, is it my purpose to do it for the kids? Don't get me wrong, I want to provide them with a great life, and I want to give them all the best opportunities I possibly can. And I really value that. But is it really for them? Is it because I do it anyway?
I think you would do it anyway, because I don't think that in itself is enough of a reason for you to have the drive that you have to do what you're doing.
Yeah, because people have kids and don't have that drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are quite happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. People are quite happy to go to the 9 to 5 and just work the hours they work. But I've just never I felt like, without getting too spiritual, I feel like I've always had that like sort of higher calling to do something a bit bigger.
Yeah. And I think that's good. And I think the problem with purposes, I think sometimes it is seen as a lofty, noble ideal. But the people who do have a 9 to 5, if they're happy and content, that's brilliant, because they're probably far less stressed than us. Yeah. And sometimes I'm jealous of those people who do their job, go home, switch off.
Well, you look at it and go, like, if you do a 9 to 5, you switch off at 5, and if you've made a mistake in work and your boss texts you at like 7 o'clock, you might get a bit triggered for 24 hours. But generally it goes away after a few days. Or you'll go in the next day and you'll sort it out. When you're self-employed and you're trying to build a business, you're like in that perpetual state of stress and anxiety 24/7, and shit's just coming at you 24/7, and you literally can't do anything but fucking worry, and you're waking up in the middle of the night in cold sweats because you're thinking, oh shit, I haven't done that thing. I'm backdated on videos. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and all of a sudden you're like, is it fucking worth it?
Yeah.
Is it? But actually, after a few days, you'll get that win, and you'll be like, yes, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's about taking stock, isn't it? And I think that's obviously since Mum's death, I know I was doing too much before that happened, because I did a workshop and they're like, so you've got a full-time job, you've got the wellness business, you've got a podcast, and you're doing stand-up comedy. And like, how do you fit it all in? I've been taking stock a lot recently of what's important, because I think I was doing too much before. So after Mum died, I just stopped everything. So I said no to everything, no commitments, and it was actually really nice. And I was like, right, I can't let myself get back to that. But it made me understand what was important to me. And what's come out from that is my comedy is definitely important to me, because that's the thing I've gone back to. And the podcast, I really want to get up and running again next year. Because irrespective of anything, of whether Building Bliss goes beyond that, the pleasure I got from doing it and the growth I got myself from listening to the people meant a lot to me. So.
I genuinely believe that you will, building this world, go beyond that. Because I think you're like me. I think you think and believe that there's a bigger call into it than just doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And there definitely is.
Yeah.
And I know you've got more value within you to not spread it.
Yeah.
And you see it and you get it.
Yeah.
Take that as a compliment, by the way.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned a little bit about your mum.
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing this by any means, but I had the same sort of feeling in COVID when there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
And there was you basically were stripped of work, purpose. You kind of sitting
Social
there
life.
going, you kind of sitting there going, I literally can't do anything. I've got to stay in the house.
Yeah.
But if you give someone a blank slate, a total blank slate, no work, no commitments, you're at home and you can do whatever you want to do in the digital world, I would bite your hand off for that now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So actually, when something traumatic happens, like a death or a grievance or whatever it is, the positive thing that will come out of it, I suppose, and you can, I've not gone through this, so you can clarify me on this if you need to, is you've got a clean slate to actually go, do you know what, I'm going to do something really fucking positive.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a chance to...
And it's hard to do,
Yeah.
and it's hard to drag yourself out of it, but over time you go, okay, this is bigger than myself now.
Yeah.
I can actually do something really positive and help more people who've been through that myself.
Yeah, definitely, because my wife always jokes that we're on Mary version 11.0 because I've been through so many iterations, and then she said, I've just realised you're Doctor Who because you keep regenerating, and I was like, is that the whole point of Doctor Who that I've missed, is that the person regenerates with almost a completely different personality based on what they've been through. I was like, wow, that's really actually quite profound. And I think it is, I always take the opportunity to sort of rebrand myself and then go again. And I think previously I might have got, you can get a bit hooked into your personality, can't you? So you're known as, you know, a non-drinker, or you're known as the party girl, and then you try and live up to that title. And I think if you can shed all the labels and then regenerate, then like every opportunity is open to you.
Such a cool thing. It's such a cool perspective to have, especially when you've been through something so shitty. To be fair, so fucking fair play.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
That's okay.
I like to swear.
Yeah. And you can, because it's your podcast.
So the last one is success, and I suppose the obvious question is, what's your definition of success, and how would you define success?
Yeah.
But I suppose that's like an iterating thing over time as well, and it's like a sort of a constant fucking. You knock one domino over and then the next thing comes. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was younger, obviously I qualified as a barrister. I was living in London, and to me success was money, having the best job for the best firm and as much money as possible, living in the nicest flat, having the best car, because it was all open to me at a very young age. I was 22 when I moved to London, and I kind of regret that I wasn't more sensible, but in some ways, as we were discussing before, that I've definitely lived a life, and that life has taught me a lot of things.
Things like that Maslow's hierarchy needs, where like your primitive needs, like your bills, your food, your shelter. Once that's paid for, you can enjoy like a certain amount of things, like your nice car, or but eventually it just becomes your car.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I can't go there and park my car there because it might get scratched.
Yeah.
Which I hate that. That's why my car's got 135,000 miles on. It's a BMW. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it up, but now I don't give a shit where I park it because it's covered in scratches. It's knackered, so I can park it anywhere. But I love it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I know I need a new car, but I don't want to get one and be like, oh no, I can't do it anywhere. So that definitely becomes less important. And I think because time and freedom are the marks of success, because time you can't get more of. You have to make the most of the time.
Time is the ultimate status symbol, right?
Yeah.
If you see someone who's like a multi-millionaire and they've got a lot of time on their hands, that to me is like so inspiring, because one, they've made enough money that they can live the life that they want, but also they've just got time on the side.
Yeah.
They're not stressed.
Yeah.
They're not overwhelmed with work. They've almost sussed it.
Yeah.
To the point where they've got enough to live the life that they want. And like, it's all relative, right? So like, I mean, I figured out in my head financially what I need to live the life that I want. I know that number.
Yeah.
Without getting too crass and getting into
Yeah.
like I know the number that I need to get to.
Everyone's got a number, haven't they?
I've got a number that I need that I know I need to run the business, to live the life that I want, to go to the place that I want to go.
Yeah.
But if that number was 20 quid, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that number was 20 million quid, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
If it's somewhere in between, I don't care. Like, it's so it's. I'm not money orientated in that sense. That I'm like, you know, if I get if I win 20 million quid tomorrow, I'm not going to go balling out of control and buy a fucking mansion and a Ferrari and all that. But at the same time, it's nice to have.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the option to do that.
Well, that's the thing. I would like that because then I could help other people more.
Yeah. The idea is to me, let's say, do you know that thing that was on Facebook and Instagram, that Amaze Whittle?
Oh yeah, I've got some entries for that.
I think everyone on the Whittle's entered into that, right?
I love it.
I've
been watching Selling Sunset before that came out, and I was like, oh my god, it's literally a Selling
honestly,
Sunset.
it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So if I won that house, you'd love it for like say 6 months. I think what would give me more joy is being able to put on events.
Yeah.
And bring people there and
bring
people together and use it for a greater good than just like balling out of control in this house that I can't afford, essentially.
Yeah.
So I've got no desire really to live in a house that big.
Yeah.
I would never choose to really live in a house that big. But by having it, you give yourself options to do bigger and better stuff that feeds into your purpose, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like this. It becomes not this like status-driven thing.
Yeah.
It's more, okay, I've got this thing, and am I going to do good with it, or am I going to waste it?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the difference, isn't it? I've just been rewatching Billions.
Yeah.
And the level of money that they have, and how they live, and how they see money, is just completely different. But you realise that is going on in the world to a large degree, and they don't give a shit about anyone. All they want to be is get the next billion.
Well, there's levels to it, isn't
billion,
it? Well, there's levels to it, isn't it? It's like it almost becomes a dick swinging contest in a sense that like.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've got $1 billion. I've got $2 billion. I've got $3 billion.
I'm a decker now. I've got 10 billion. There's only 10 deckers in the country, I've got 3 jets. Oh, you've only got 3 jets.
Yeah. It just becomes this like never-ending thing. But actually, once you get past your primitive needs, your food, your shelter, your warmth, your safety, after that, you get to a level where, so like looking at it from like a real, like our perspective, we're a nice little business.
Yeah.
Not the biggest business in the world, but a nice business.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, I've got enough money that all my primitive needs are covered. I can now take some help on. So I might get an assistant.
Yeah.
I might get a videographer. I might hire someone else. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Then I might get to a level where I've got a small team. Okay, so I've looked after the primitive needs of myself, and I've looked after the primitive needs of 3 other people, let's say. But then you get to the point where it's like, okay, I don't need to make this any bigger now. I'm making loads of money, way beyond the number that I've got in my head to sustain myself. And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, you can become that person who's like, right, I need more.
Yeah.
I've got more than I will ever need, but I need more.
Yeah.
I need more. Or you can start feeding it back into a bigger purpose. So for me, I'd love to start investing in like things that feed the soul.
Yeah.
Like good causes, you know, education, putting kids who are underprivileged, you know, all that bigger stuff than yourself.
Yeah.
That will really leave a dent in your legacy. And,
Yeah.
like, people remember your name for it.
Yeah.
That to me is like, sounds a lot more satisfying and would bring me a lot more joy than like balling out of control of the Ferrari.
Absolutely, because you can only drive one car at once.
Well, I always say like if you went out and bought an Aston Martin or a Ferrari, it's got 4 wheels, it's got a steering wheel, so it's a Fiat Punto.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny you say a Fiat Punto because I had an E-Reg Fiesta as my first car. My dad swapped it for a kit car, which was that someone else had built. It was a bright orange fiberglass Jeep, and it was like shit off a shovel because it was a 2-litre Rover engine, but with fiberglass.
Yeah.
And it was really fast. And then, but when I got my job, I got a brand new Punto, first ever brand new car, and it was the best thing ever because I had a reliable car.
Yeah.
So that Punto probably would mean more to me than any fancy car I could get now. I do actually want a Mustang. That's my dream car. Mustang Bullet,
big muscle
5
car.
litre. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So because I am a petrol head, you know, so I do love driving. I love driving, but I think you do have to, if you don't have that higher purpose.
For me, I love doing fitness. I don't do it as a profession anymore. I lost the will to do that a while ago. But to me, being able to platform people and give people a voice, build people's personal brands into something successful, help them make more money, you know, get more clients, whatever it is. That to me is like so satisfying. From a personal point of view, I'd love to be able to, you know, there's loads of stuff I'd love to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that giving that voice is a real key thing. I know I did the podcast workshop for the Youth Federation with 3 young women, and they loved it, and their parents were blown away. They're like, they've never spoken like that about their own story, and that's how powerful it is to be able to do that for someone. And it's a bit like there's a thing that, you know, if you light a match that's lined up against the matches and that all spreads out. So it's what you're doing and hopefully what I will do spreads out so that the next person then influences another 3 people. Those 3 people influence 10 people, and then suddenly I think it's what's he called? Mo Gorda has got a book out, and he was saying his mission is to make 1 million people less stressed. I was like, what a brilliant one-line mission. But that's by filtering it out. Like, so he's been on the Diary of a CEO podcast that I don't know goes out to, I know he's just hit 1 billion streams, hasn't he? Yeah. Across all his platforms. So just in that, even if one person takes one bit of wisdom,
look at the mechanism of that though. Look at the mechanism of Stephen Bartlett. Now, might not be the biggest fan of him in the world, but look at the lesson that you can learn from him. Yeah. It's like Stephen Bartlett probably speaks less about himself on any of them podcasts, but he's got the biggest personal brand. Yeah. Yeah. Because he's platforming so many other people. Yeah. So he doesn't need to speak so much about himself because the platform itself is the answer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I've loved, because I wasn't a massive fan of his. If you want to be successful, help other people be successful. Yeah. And I think that, and he's mastered that. And it doesn't matter if you're a fan of him or not. Yeah. But the model that he does it through works. Yeah. And that's why I love the idea of podcasts, because me and you can come on as equals, have a great conversation, leave the podcast, and we've all won. Yeah. Yeah. And I just love that idea. Yeah. Not that I'm saying I'm going to be the next Stephen Bartlett.
No, well, I think what I've enjoyed is you can clearly hear he is actually on his own personal journey. As he's had more spiritual people on, like Mo, Gabor Mate, even Mel Robbins, you could tell from it, and he had a guru on who he just could not question, because everything he said, he's like, well, why are you obsessed with worrying? And he's like, you're asking the wrong question. And he just couldn't get a hold of him. But I think it made him realise that he doesn't have all the answers. I think as a youngster, he probably felt he did.
Well, I think there's definitely a humility in knowing that you don't know everything. Yeah. And knowing that you don't know anything means you can be teachable and coachable in any situation. So I don't care if someone comes in here and starts teaching me more about cameras than I already know, because I can be better. Yeah. So there's this thing that Jamie Ray taught me. He's coming on the podcast on Thursday, actually. Yeah. Great guy. He said, put your hand in the air like this. Just put your hand in the air like that. Okay. Put your hand down. And then put it up higher like this. Why didn't you put it up that high in the first place?
Oh, because I was copying you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we didn't. We just do the bare minimum. We just do the bare minimum for what it takes to put our hand up. Right? Yeah. Yeah. We can put our hand up further. Yeah. And the theory is that you can do more in any situation. You can do that in anything. I think that's a NLP technique, I think. Yeah. But it just shows, doesn't it? Like you can go above and beyond, you can learn more and be better and eke out these little incremental wins that don't feel like wins. Yeah. Like me, just having recorded 8 to 10 podcasts in the last month, I've learned so much about everything. Yeah. You know, from people to cameras to filming to audio to everything, and it's made me better content creator for it. Yeah. Well, you're always learning, aren't you? And then because you do that, you become more grateful. And when you become more grateful, you become more likable.
Yeah.
And when you become more likable, people want to interact with you more, and and it's just this never-ending thing of like just positive. But when you're like, I know everything and I can't learn, and I'm shut off to what you're going to say, maybe, even though I make out that I'm listening, but I'm not really listening.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and people suss that out. People have got a big bullshit detector.
But in this age now, I think where all the information we ever need to do anything is already out there. Like YouTube, we could literally go onto ChatGPT now and type in a prompt, and we'll have a full transcript of this podcast.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to record it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in theory, all the information that we ever need is already out there, and we can get it at our fingertips for free. So why are so many people stuck?
Yeah.
And why are so many people not taking more action?
Yeah.
So
I think in some ways there's too much of shit content that then paralyses people. So they feel, I mean, speaking from personal experience, when I've been in one of my hyper modes where I try everything at once and it doesn't work, you know, I'll buy a journal that says this because this journal is going to be the path to my salvation. No, you just think if you buy something, it'll make you feel better.
Totally.
And it's that kind of mentality, because at the end of the day, healing is boring and it's hard work.
Yeah.
And it's getting up every day, being repetitive, doing the same things, getting a routine. People don't want to hear that unless you can
You're not going to become a millionaire selling that.
No, unless you can go, look at me, because I'm you, as we always say, I'm you 2 years ago. I'm here. I've suffered 2 massive bereavements in my life. My dad died 16 years ago, mum just recently, but I'm here, still standing, still getting up on stage and doing my comedy. So I must have something that I can share with you,
wisdom,
of value.
There's a lot of wisdom in there.
Yeah.
I love that, and I totally agree.
Yeah.
There's too much information out there.
Yeah.
And actually giving people more information, I would argue, is actually taking away value from them.
Yeah.
So it's almost saying, right, there's so much information out there, but I'm going to give you some more.
Yeah.
And I want you to listen to me.
Yeah, mine's the best.
Mine's the best out of all of it. But actually, like you say, storytelling and becoming a master storyteller and comedy, things that people resonate with, and shared insights. So I can't tell you for sure what will happen to you, but this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And this is how I dealt with it. I'm not saying you're going to be able to deal with it the same way, but this is the way I went at it.
This is our way.
Yeah, this is our way.
And I'm still standing. No words felt.
And actually, I think that's more value than just saying, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, nobody really likes being told what to do, do they?
When it first all started, when social media specifically started coming out, and you could do like the 3 tips to be less stressed.
Yeah.
But now people have heard all that.
Yeah.
And they know all that. And it's a simple Google search.
Yeah.
And they'll have hundreds of millions of articles and videos of a quick YouTube search. How do we become less stressed?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
But it's like, I always think, like, if you scroll through, especially when I'm building Bliss, with all the volume on, and it's just noise. It's just one person papping on after another, and it just makes you just shut the app and go. None of that is making sense. It's all too much, and that's why sometimes I struggle to put content out, because I don't want to add to the shit pile. You know
what someone said to me recently? Someone said to me they're scared to put content out, and this was said on this podcast. People are scared to put content out because they don't want to put misinformation out. So they're actually scared of saying the wrong thing and looking stupid. So they're actually got to this point now where they're not actually fucking scared to get in front of the camera or speak or anything. And they've got all this good information, and I know these people. They know the shit. They come on because I trust them and they know the shit.
Yeah.
So we don't have anyone in the seat who I don't trust.
Yeah.
But they come out and they're like, I'm just so scared of putting it out in case I'm wrong. What if I'm wrong? And it's like, well, you can be wrong. Like, if it's wrong, just if it turns out to be proven that you're wrong. And what I always say is, I don't ever seek to be right or wrong. I seek the truth.
Yeah.
And it's such a freeing thing because you're not in a power battle anymore.
Yeah.
I'm right and you're wrong, or you're not in a power battle. It's like, I don't care if I'm right and I don't care if I'm wrong. All I'm trying to find out is the truth.
Yeah. You like showing your own working out, basically, aren't you? I try to work this problem
Most people are so like in this like clashing thing of like, I need to be right.
But that's instilled. We sort of touched on it right at the start about the public speaking. is that at school, like obviously you're taught to speak, aren't you? And every parent wants their child to speak as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You get to school and what you're told, sit down and shut up. So is there any wonder that people are afraid of speaking?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing at school. You're told there's right and wrong. You have to get all these answers right in order to get these exams, in order to succeed. And that's just a load of crap. I mean, the school system is broken to me because it doesn't encourage any critical thinking, any entrepreneurship of any kind. It's like, learn this, pass this exam.
I totally agree with that. Well, funny enough, Harry's in Stepping Stones in Brookhurst, and they've basically pulled the funding. The local authority, they're in the building, they're not funding it anymore. So they've got 12 staff to 30 kids, and it's frigging fantastic.
Yeah.
So when Harry started, he could say words, but he couldn't string a sentence together.
Yeah.
Normal, didn't have any difficulties or anything, but he just couldn't speak. But he was quite shy. He wasn't the most alpha male kid. He wasn't like sort of actively get involved.
Boisterous.
Yeah, he's definitely not boisterous.
Yeah.
And since then, he's really come out of his shell. He's really made friends. I couldn't speak highly enough of it all. And there's 12 staff to 30 kids. They pulled it all. They're making them all redundant. And it's this thing where, like, if the age of learning, the wraparound age is in Brookhurst is 4 to 11. So even if they got extended from 4 to 11 to 3 to 11, you've got to put in a qualified teacher in there, not teaching assistants for one.
Right.
So the law is that you only need one teacher to 13 kids.
Right.
At the moment, they've got 12.
Yeah.
And I put Harry's development down to the fact that he had that nurturing every day.
Yeah.
He had that safety of someone always being there. He's been able to make friends. He's been amazing for him.
Yeah.
And I think someone like Harry, if he had one teacher to 13 kids and a teaching assistant, and some of the kids are still in nappies and stuff, so many kids will just fall through that system and just not make the developments that Harry's made. And I see the real benefit in it, because so if I had the money, that's the kind of greater cause I was talking about before, that I would like help fund, because I could see the tangible benefit. Like putting 60 kids through an education every year is like so much more satisfying to me than like balling out of control and Andrew Tate style or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like a real impact to me. That's like impact of like the fundamental thing. And you're totally right. I think, you know, the school system is totally broken now.
Yeah.
How can you put 30 kids who are all learning differently, all of different abilities and excel in different areas, into one classroom and say, do that? It's impossible. It's insane.
Yeah, and it's still a very old-fashioned. I've been a governor at 2 schools, so I know the inside out of things as well.
Yeah.
And just trotting out the same curriculum. If you like, even look at history, that they're still teaching medicine from the medieval ages at GCSE. That people my age did that at school, and what has nothing happened? Like Brexit, the wars that we've had since then, the fundamental political change, because fundamentally it's propaganda. It's, you know, going down a bit of a Joe Rogan, Seth Rogan, whatever it's called, rabbit hole. But it is like, you do this, you fit into this hole, you become a marketable product that will then go into the job market and do what you're told.
Bulk capitalism.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
I don't know what the solution is. I mean, obviously in Scandinavia, the kids don't start school till they're 7. But they're trilingual by that age, so they speak either Danish, Swedish and English, or Norwegian. I worked in Copenhagen for 2 years, so I saw that firsthand, and they're very well adjusted, and everyone's very happy there. So,
well,
you know.
Me and you pretty much agree on all that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we didn't disagree. Because you still see some parents and are like, sort of into the kids going to school and they really get involved, and you know, fair enough. But the actual subject matter, even like just basic business knowledge, social skills, communication skills, they don't get taught.
Yeah, how to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
How to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And I think
and the argument, the counter argument to that is, and to be fair, I've listened to the counter argument, and the counter argument is kids aren't interested in that stuff. They might be more interested in dinosaurs and stuff.
Well, at that age, but
it's like,
as teenagers,
I mean,
are.
at 15 years old, I needed communication skills. I needed to socialise better. I needed to come out with Shelmore. At 15 years old, I had that entrepreneurial spirit, and and I was like, I didn't get taught anything about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I was told, go and start a 9 to 5. I spent 4 years in a 9 to 5 and I got made redundant.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do?
And I think perhaps the problem is they can't keep up quick enough with the way that
I mean, the biggest lie,
changing.
I think the biggest lie is that 9 to 5s are more secure than being self-employed.
Yeah.
But there's more risk in being self-employed.
Yeah.
But actually the rewards are greater. So
yeah. You see, I was brought up in a family business, so
Yeah.
we've always been self-employed.
Right,
So to
see.
me, there was no other
That's
way.
probably
I have worked for people.
That's probably one of the things that served you well, though. Like,
Yeah.
but it technically, like, if you pay me money, I'm working for you.
Yeah.
So even if you're self-employed, you still technically work
Yeah.
for someone, just not in the sense of an employed role.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for coming on.
No
That
problem.
was amazing. We've
Yeah.
done 55 minutes there.
Right. Covered a wide variety
Yeah,
of topics.
like I guess I say, like I don't really have a framework to these podcasts, but I just like having great conversations with people, and that's
Yeah.
what we do. I know you're good at that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you your own question to finish.
Yeah.
What's your favourite joke?
Oh, my favourite joke. Oh, you put me on the spot now. There's a sequence of like really crap jokes of like, what do you call a man with a cow on his head? Pat. What do you call a man in the bushes? Russell. What do you call a man with a spade on his head? Doug. What do you call a man without a spade on his head? Douglas. And they're just jokes that I memorise.
What do you call a sheep that can sing and dance?
I don't know.
Lady Baba.
Right, I've heard that one. That's a new one. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much. That was legit.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit that up and see how it comes out.